So this morning we're talking about a very interesting topic, that of aging. Don't we all want to be forever young? We'll be talking to Dr. Darren Green very shortly, so you can get those calls coming in right now on 083-9133728. But yes, it is everyone's, I guess, worst nightmare, aging. What can you do to reverse it? But in studies covering 4 decades, Harvard University psychologist Professor leigh-anne has shown that mental attitude can actually go a long way in reversing the effects of aging and improving your physical health as well. And she's here in our studio to talk to us about that and how this could actually be applied to cancer. This is very fascinating stuff. Doctor, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk first about your theory, what your theory entails and how exactly it works.
It's very simple. I argue that mind and body are just concepts. They're just words. And if we put them back together, you get rid of the mind-body problem. Do you know what the mind-body problem?
What is the mind-body problem?
It's always been, how do you get from this fuzzy thing called a thought to something material called the body?
Okay.
And I say, well, if we put them back together, then it's one thing and we don't have to explain that. And in a very simple way, then we put the mind in all sorts of strange places and take measurements from the body, and it seems to validate the theory. People already know about things like placebos, spontaneous remissions, and those can be explained by this view.
Yeah.
And the most dramatic thing we did was well, I don't know if it's the most dramatic, but the first thing we did was to take elderly gentlemen to a retreat that we retrofitted to 20 years earlier.
That you retrofitted?
Yeah, so the scenery, the art, the TV shows they were watching, the discussions were all about the past.
Okay.
And they lived as if it was 20 years ago. So they spoke about the past in the present tense. So it was for them that earlier time. The measurements we took showed us that their hearing improved, their vision improved, their memory improved, their strength improved. And they looked younger. Now, they didn't look 20 years younger, but they looked noticeably younger. So it was very exciting.
That's incredible, because I've also been delving into a little bit of the space-time continuum theories and how the whole perception of time actually forms our reality right now. So that was the counterclockwise study.
That's the counterclockwise study. Well, you know, the point is that people tend to think that as you get older, it all just falls apart.
Yes.
And it's that mindset that leads us to that negative place. And some of this can be explained in a simple way. Assume that you're 20 years old and you hurt your wrist. Okay. What you're going to do is do things to make yourself better.
Yes.
When you're 70 years old and you say, well, I'm supposed to fall apart, I guess it's happening now, you don't take care of yourself. And so anything that happens that's negative becomes sort of a one-way street downhill, rather than when you're younger, you expect to get up and start over again.
Wow.
And it all suggests that we have far more vitality and strength in us than most people realize. So all we're trying to do with these studies is prime our more vital selves.
Yes. And so that was one study that you did, the counterclockwise study, and then there was also something else called the hotel-maid study.
The chambermaid study, yes. This was interesting that we asked these chambermaids how much exercise they get. Now, all they're doing all day long is exercising. Nevertheless, they don't see themselves as exercising.
True.
Then we teach half of them to exercise. We say making a bed is like working on this machine at the gym and so on.
Yeah.
So the only difference between the two groups at this point is one believes their work is exercise, and that's not the case for the other. We take lots of measures, we come back, I think it was 3 weeks later, I'm not exactly sure, and we take another set of measures. Now we want to find out, are you working harder than before? Is she working harder than before? Are you eating differently? No differences on any of those measures. Then we take the important measures, and we find that just by this change in mindset, they lost weight, there was a change in waist-to-hip ratio, body mass index, and their blood pressure came down.
That's
Let
incredible.
me give you a study that may be even easier to understand.
Yes.
In the States, at least, we use the Snelling eye chart, a series of letters that get progressively smaller.
Yes.
Right, to assess vision.
Of course, your vision, yes.
Okay. Now, what people don't realize is that that chart implicitly tells you soon you're not going to be able to see. Right? Start big, it gets smaller. Okay. So all I did was reverse the eye chart. So now it's getting progressively larger, thereby telling you soon you will be able to see. And with that change in mindset, you can see what you couldn't see before.
That is incredible.
What we did in one of these studies most people, I think, have the assumption that, you know, around 2/3 of the way down the chart, they're not going to be able to see.
Yes.
So we started it 1/3 of the way down. So it starts over here, so 2/3 of the way down now are much smaller letters. And again, people can see what they couldn't see before.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So I think that the bottom line, as I said already, that is that we're capable of far more than we think we are.
Yes.
And then which takes us to cancer, which I know is your next question.
We're going to be talking about that a bit later on. In fact, just after 7 o'clock, we'll be talking to Dr. Langer on this very fascinating topic. Engage with us on social media, on Facebook and of course, Twitter as well. But right now, we're taking your calls on 083-9133728 as we chat to Dr. Darren Green.